guys, it's Rodimus Primal. I am back with another video, and I am with you at New York Comic Con 2018. I've got some stuff to talk about, so let's take a look. Alright guys, so I came back this weekend from New York Comic Con, saw a whole bunch of cool stuff, had an absolute blast, and while I was there, there's a lot of news that happened, and on top of that, there's some things I want to talk about, including, when I got back from the convention, I got sick, my wife got sick, we weren't feeling well, so I wanted to record this video sooner and get it to you guys earlier this week, but I've been under the weather, so, sorry about that. But some cool stuff that happened while I was there. We were waiting on the city, and first of all, I just want to say this about New York City. I love New York City. I was born in New York City. I still love New York City. I love going. There's just something about that city. I proposed to my wife while we were there. And it's just cool things that, about that city that just make it like no place on earth. Pizza. There's nothing better than a New York slice of pizza. Really, honestly. Hands down. Yes, there are bad places in the city, but New York pizza, hands down, best pizza. Anyway, so we tried to get into the city, and as we were on the train, NJ Transit had a derailment the night before, so we had to wait a half an hour before we can even get into the city, and I had a miss. I was really trying to get there on time to see the Voltron panel, which was held at Madison Square Garden. Yes, it was off-site from the Javits Center, which is something about New York Comic Con that I really don't like. I don't like the idea that all of these different panels are off-site. You have to leave the convention hall in order to actually get to the panel, and then you have to make your way back. So if you have a panel that you want to go to right afterward, you have to duck out of one panel early. I ended up missing the Voltron panel thanks to NJ Transit, and we didn't even get to the convention center until like it was almost completely done. So like I see everybody's tweets and I see everybody's posts all over the place about like what they're talking about, and I'm like, man, I really wanted to see what they were talking about with Voltron, because I really love Voltron Legendary Defender. I can't talk enough praises about that show, because it takes everything that was good about the original and improves upon it in so many ways. And speaking of which, I'm going to end up meeting BJ Ward, who was the voice of the original Allura and Scarlet, in G.I. Joe, is going to be at RetroCon. But I'll talk about that when I actually go to RetroCon. But so we end up getting to the convention hall, and we're walking through, and we're trying to see different cosplays, and my sister came as Chun-Li. And one thing about Street Fighter is you figure everybody's gonna recognize Chun-Li. Now, while we were walking through the streets of Newark in order to get to the train station, everybody knew that she was dressed as Chun-Li. But when we get to the convention hall, nobody's really paying any mind. Like, there's all these different, cosplays for different costumes and stuff like that, but nobody seemed to, pick up on it, except the Capcom people. Capcom was like, oh, that's so awesome, that's an awesome cosplay, and she was dressed pretty well for it, and she did a really good job. In fact, there was the one really cool display at New York Comic Con was the Dragon Ball. Man, that was so cool. It had this giant, set up, the World Tournament, arena. It had, places where you can kind of pose as if you were powering up. And I saw that picture of Ben Yee. That was pretty cool, of him powering up. And then there was, this big dragon, hanging above, and he had the Dragon Balls hanging in the sky. And of course, different people cosplay as Dragon Ball characters. So my sister and I and someone dressed as Trunks, posed for this really funny picture. And of course, I had to do my Kamehameha. That was an absolute must. And I was trying to make it to different panels. It was really, really hard to get through the convention hall. It was very crowded both Friday and Saturday. From what I heard, Thursday was the day to go, and I really wish that I had the ability to. I wish I was able to go on Thursday because they had the Transformers panel, off-site. Hasbro does this thing. They don't actually have like a booth set up at New York Comic Con. They usually do a panel while they're there, and then they have an off-site for press only someplace where they had that display thing. And if you saw my live stream with Kamet and Cam, I talked about, all the different Transformers that were there. And while I was at New York Comic Con, there was the IDW panel. And I ran into Anthony from TFU.info. If you're not subscribed to his channel or seen his website before, and you probably check out his pictures for different Transformers and stuff like that, I definitely recommend you check out his channel. In fact, I'm on one of his podcasts, so it's definitely something that was worth it. It was worth running into him, chatting with him, and talking about Transformers. If there's anything about me, about me, if you run into me, we probably have long conversations, almost to the point where you're gonna end up going like, all right, I've got to go. Rodimus, I've had enough talking with you. And that's kind of the way that I am. And that's pretty much, one of my character flaws, you can say. But while we were there, we went to the IDW panel, and I met also another subscriber was Autobot Sonic, and I want to give a shout out to him as well. And there was somebody else that recognized me, and I took a picture with him, and I have it up here. And but at the IDW panel, they revealed quite a bunch of different comics on their lineup, and they also talked about how they were ending the current Transformers universe, and they showed some stills from the current Unicron issues while we were there. So pretty much the stuff that you see in preview is what you're seeing here, I guess, in the in the panel. And so I was taking pictures of it and tweeting them out, and so was Anthony with TFU, and they also, we were saying that they were definitely rebooting, but they didn't really talk about where they were going. So I don't know if IDW even knows where Hasbro wants to go with the Transformers story. I'm really curious as to what they're going to do, moving forward with this, new universe that they're going to set up eventually, because we know the Transformers Siege is supposed to take place before the Transformers come to Earth. It's going to be a new continuity. It's going to be based upon the G1 cartoon, but we don't know if it actually is part of the G1 cartoon or if it's just kind of like a retelling and kind of like their own thing. And that's probably the best way to approach it. I'm loving the new toys. I'm telling you, I want to see those new toys. I want to get my hands on them. And but while it was also in that panel, they revealed I think it's a 4-issue miniseries or 3-issue miniseries. It's going to be like a greatest hits for G.I. Joe. They're going to go through different points of the G.I. Joe comic and the G.I. Joe cartoon and take the best elements and probably tell stories from it. I don't know what they're going to do, but I've got some pictures of it and the title as well. And they also showed some other cool stuff. I wasn't really paying too much of a mind because it wasn't robots and action heroes, so it's kind of like I was kind of lost on it. But some of their comics actually did look appealing. But overall, I kind of enjoyed the panel. I probably enjoyed it more the fact that I was kind of sitting with Anthony. We were just chatting, Transformers after and just talking about good and the bad and the ugly, about everything that we're seeing, so far. And that made it all worth it, in my eyes. And that was the thing about the convention, is that I almost felt like initially on Friday that nobody really had the energy to want to be there. Nobody wanted to look at anything, and nobody thought anything was cool on Friday. On Saturday, it was so crowded, and it was kind of you had to really finagle your way through the hallways. You almost to the point where you couldn't breathe. And I got really, really tired and really exhausted. But still, I wanted to see everything. And that's one thing. I like to see every booth. I like to see what, everybody's wares are, what everybody's selling. I didn't pick up any Transformers. Instead of buying any Transformer toys or any, toys in general or t-shirts, the only thing I bought for my wife and my daughter was some princess keychains. But I also picked up some comics, and these comics I used to have. I actually, didn't have them anymore because they were all damaged. But I ended up getting issue 6, I believe 7. Actually, I'll go through them. I got issue 7. I got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Had to get this issue with the showdown with Skids and Megatron. Had to get 21 because that was the first appearance of the aerial bots. Had to get 22 because that was Superion versus Menasor. And of course, this is the first appearance of the Predacons in the comics. I know they appear in season 3 in the cartoon. And of course, I had to get this. This one is one of my favorite covers, just simply because again, I love New York, so seeing the battle chargers, destroy the Statue of Liberty, that's probably one of my favorite covers, in addition to, issue 43 with Rodimus versus Galvatron and issue 5 with Shockwave. So those are my pickups. And again, I had a fun time there. I wish I was able to see more panels. In fact, I just made it to the Marvel booth when they were ending the Daredevil panel, and they were supposed to end up having the panel after at Madison Square Garden. And I said, you know what, I'm going to stick around. Instead of try to get to Madison Square Garden for the Daredevil panel, I'll stick around so I can get to the IDW panel, because otherwise I would have missed out on that. And it's just like one thing after the other. And I really wish I was there, on Thursday, because then I could have actually tried to look at stuff and buy stuff at the different booths. I also met Austin St. John and Will Friedle. Austin St. John, if you know, he was Jason in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And he also, after the show ended, he stopped acting, I think, and then he went off and, served our country and actually was like helping out. I think I believe it's either a firefighter or a medic. I could be wrong, but I know he was out in Iraq, helping our troops while he was out there. And so I thanked him for that. And he was just really, really nice, really awesome. One of the, most personable people, approachable people you can talk to. He was genuine, and that was something that was really cool. I'll say the same thing about Will Friedle. Now, if you know who Will Friedle is, he's the older brother in Boy and Girl Meets World. He was the he was Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond, and he was Bumblebee in Transformers: Robots in Disguise, and at the tail end of Prime as well. And he also wrote 2 episodes of Transformers: Robots in Disguise. But he was just really, really cool. And while I was there, I was going to ask him, I'm like, hey, can you do a video, for my YouTube channel? And there, the people who were like running security were like, nope, you can't do that. And they were like, no, we can't. It kind of sucked, because I was like, it would have been really cool if like I did like a video like I did for my RetroCon video. So like they can say like, oh, hey, how are you, kind of thing, or, kind of like an introduction. But New York Comic Con, like, they've buckled down. And speaking of buckled down, you've probably noticed I'm wearing my Doctor Who shirt. I went to, my sister paid for, at the Manhattan Center, after the convention hall closed, there was a thing for New York Comic Con attendees that you had to pay for seeing Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Alex Kingston on stage doing this thing called TARDIS Time, where they were chatting away and kind of getting like people up on stage. And I met, I was talking to some fans while I was there, but because of the seats we were in the balcony, probably because you had to pay for it. But like there were plenty of seats down at the bottom, bottom level, where everybody who was sitting in the balcony could probably have fit on the floor, so we could have all seen everybody. Because when you're sitting in the balcony, you can't see anything. You can probably see from this picture, it's very blurry. That was the same vision like that I had looking through my own eyes, looking at them. And it kind of stunk, because it's like they're on stage, they're right there. I'd love to be a little closer to them. And of course, some people are like, kind of freaking out because they brought people on stage and they did some cool things. But, they were kind of like freaking out. In fact, when we got back on the street, people were like, oh my God, I can't believe I met him. And it's kind of the thing. It's like you meet people, different places, and you expect them to like, treat you like with disrespect. But no, like, here's the thing. Like, this is the way that I am. I'm the kind of person like, okay, I'm just a YouTuber. But if you met me at a convention, or if you met me like, you know, at like a Walmart or something like that, and you knew who I was and you walked up to me, I wouldn't mind saying hello. I'm sure there are some people who probably be like, oh, come on, you know, like you have to like let them live their own lives. But I'll be honest with you, I'm very personable. So, you know, I would hope that they are the same way in person. But on stage, it was kind of cool to see that. And we really wanted to get like an autograph photo with, you know, David Tennant, because come on, he's David Tennant, he's awesome. And we ended up finding out that you had to get like have them just do a photo. You can't like take a selfie photo. You had to just pay for the photo booth. And of course you can't do video, you can't do any of that. So it's like you can't even meet him without having to like, you know, pay like an arm and a leg. It was really like the price to actually get like the autograph and photos. And I understand it's they're you know, they're higher end you know, celebrities, so I guess it costs more for certain things. I remember Mark Hamill last year was $250 if you wanted a autograph from him. And I was just like, man, that is so expensive. But I guess when you break it down, like that's how much it's worth sometimes for some of these celebrities. But, you know, it's, you know, can you shell that, or would you rather just see them on screen and you're just excited to see them, you know, otherwise? But I had a fun time, and you know, I hope to have an awesome time again. The RetroCon, I'm also going to be seeing Cybertronic Spree on stage. You know, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to show you guys a montage to you know, on your way out. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, you know, subscribe to the channel, and check out me out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out my Devil Hunter, my Yumi game trailer. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.